The same US and Australian political forces that have normalised talk of war with China have ripped an innocent Australian away from his wife and 6 children, holding him in solitary confinement to make an example of him for their agenda. This is the conclusion the Australian Citizens Party has drawn from its investigation of the case of former US Navy Top Gun pilot, now Australian citizen Daniel Duggan, who has been held in solitary confinement for 9 months, waiting to see if he will be extradited to the United States. The Citizens Party has published its investigation in its Australian Alert Service magazine and on its website. Citizens Party Research Director Robert Barwick said today, quote, "This is a terrible case which should deeply shame all of us because our government is destroying a beautiful Australian family solely to please Anglo-American war hawks and their Five Eyes spy network who want to make an example of Duggan for their propaganda war against China," unquote. Barwick cited the following elements of the case. The AFP arrested Duggan on the 21st of October 2022, designating him extreme high risk to hold him in harsh conditions in solitary confinement in very cold Lithgow with insufficient food, blankets, medical care and access to family and legal advice. Five Eyes agency ASIO possibly broke the law by luring Duggan back to Australia to be arrested, which the Inspector General of Intelligence and Security is investigating. Attorney General Mark Dreyfus, who approved Duggan's arrest, is improperly trying to interfere with the Australian court by backgrounding journalists to harass the court to release the US extradition request, which lists all the US allegations against Duggan, but which the court has declined to release in the interests of justice. Australia only extradites if the charge meets the dual criminality standard of being a crime in both the country seeking the extradition, the United States, and Australia. But the Attorney General refuses to say whether Duggan's charges are crimes in Australia. If the Attorney General can't even claim dual criminality, on what grounds did he approve Duggan's arrest and harsh treatment? An indictment cobbled together by the Trump administration in 2017, when anti-China hawks Mike Pompeo, John Bolton and Peter Navarro were ramping up attacks on China, accuses Duggan of training Chinese military pilots at a training school in South Africa between 2010 and 2012. But he vehemently denies they were military pilots, and nobody else associated with that school has been charged. Even if they were military pilots, the official attitudes of the US and Australian governments towards China in 2010 to 2012 were very different than today. Even as recently as 2019, Australia conducted joint military exercises with China. UK Air Chief Marshal Wigston acknowledged in 1st of February 2023 testimony to the UK House of Commons Defence Committee that such foreign pilot training had been, quote, going on for many years, and it goes back to a period when we took a different approach to China. So I can understand why those people would have felt that it was a reasonable thing to do, unquote. The 18 October 2022 Washington Post admitted most retired US military personnel ignore the law Duggan is accused of breaching without consequences. Quote, "There is no criminal penalty for violating the law. Enforcement is almost non-existent," unquote. The Citizens Party has documented these and more sinister aspects of Duggan's case in our reports. We expose a coordinated Five Eyes operation to display Duggan's head on a pike as a pretext for national security crackdowns to consolidate the AUKUS alliance. Australians should be outraged and demand Dan Duggan be freed to return to his family.